ready. College Blok, College Blok, College Blok, College Blok Network. The 50 Block Connection. College Blok, College Blok, College Blok Network. The 50 Block Connection.
Hello, thank you for watching another edition of College Blok. I am so overwhelmed with all the good feedback I've been getting over the last couple of weeks. It is incredible. I really appreciate everyone that has been contacting me, leaving me messages, contacting me on my Facebook, going on my YouTube page. The feedback has been phenomenal. I want to thank you for making College Blok the success that it is. Today I have a very, very interesting guest on my show, a gentleman that's here to talk about some very, very interesting things dealing with education. My guest today is Macias. How you doing, Max?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well.
Right.
Thanks for having me on the show.
All right.
I'm really excited.
Thank you.
This is awesome.
Yes.
Just for the last couple of years, I've homeschooled my 2-year-old son. When I started, he was 2.5. Now he's 5.5.
Okay.
And the experience I had, you know, networking with other parents, kind of really taking a different perspective on the education system, I learned a lot.
Really?
And when I reintroduced him into the traditional education system, I kind of saw some inconsistencies, and I realized, you know, parents probably were experiencing some of the frustrations that I was experiencing as well. So, you know, every time we're out in the park playing and when there are parents there, we always start talking about education. And I just started seeing a common thread of some challenges that, you know, school-age children were experiencing and their parents as well. So, you know, that kind of led to me where I am now.
Right, right. Now, one thing I realized about when you educate young people or anyone, sometimes it's like a gift and a curse. Meaning, like, being advanced, sometimes you can be an outcast or be alone because now you're way ahead of something and everyone else is kind of like, you know, you wanna move forward, but the whole group or the whole classroom is still learning, you know, very basic stuff. Now, how is the adjustment of the information and the teaching, the level of teaching that you've been giving your child? How is that? Does that affect him at all, adjusting to a regular classroom setting?
It definitely is. I mean, the challenge is, and it's really not even if you're ahead. It's more in the traditional education system.
Okay.
You know, there are kind of boxes more or less that everyone needs to fit in. If you're on the high scale or if you're in the low scale, it becomes really challenging because they like to teach towards the middle. And that's really unfortunate nowadays because you have kids that may excel in certain areas or may need help. And the system really isn't kind of meeting those needs.
Right.
I've had very interesting conversation with educators in some very well-known school systems. And you know, the feedback that I got from them was not the most encouraging.
Wow.
And it's very, very challenging. And if you look at some of the statistics, you know, you talk about in New York City, you know, 27% of Black and Hispanic males graduate. 27% out of 100%. You know, you look at, you know, some of the school budgets, you know, for example, I know one school budget where I am, I mean, they spend $63 million a year. That's about $15,000 per student. However, you can't meet the needs.
The needs, right.
So it's really challenging. And having conversations with some teachers who have taught a certain way for 30 years when society and life has changed drastically, but they're still using those old paradigms. And you know, when you suggest, can you try this, can you try that, they look at you like, well, I'm the expert. It's mind-numbing,
Right.
to say the least.
Right, right. So let's start from the beginning,
Sure.
and then we'll work our way
Sure.
back up to right now. What is your educational background? Did you attend college or graduate school?
Right. I attended the King's College when it was in Briarcliff before it moved down to before Campus Crusade for Christ took it over.
Okay, wonderful.
I did a year of my master's at Pratt Institute for Urban and Economic Development. I didn't complete it. The thing the message that I really want to get out is, like, you don't need to have your master's in education to take the reins over to teach your child.
Right.
I mean, now with the internet, you can find anything that you need. The challenge I had, or I have found, was just getting the confidence.
Okay.
Because, you know, we think teachers know it all.
Right.
And they don't. And I'm not saying that to be disparaging, but the reality is no one can educate your kid better than you can, because you know your kid.
Right, right. Wonderful, wonderful. Now, let's move it up a little bit further.
Sure.
Now, obviously you're an advocate for homeschooling. Now, what kind of gave you the idea to actually introduce this teaching method to your child? What was the spark that actually got you motivated enough to do this on a consistent basis, and so on and so on?
Well, you know, at the time when I first started working with my son, he was going to a daycare, and I really wasn't kind of happy with the progress that he was getting. Although it wasn't, you know, structured learning, I still thought he should have known a little more. And I went online and I kind of did some research and did my due diligence as to what's out there. And I realized that people think homeschooling is, you know, like Laura Ingalls in Little House on the Prairie.
Right.
You know, candle and a chalkboard and you're there all day. That's not homeschooling.
Right.
I mean, under the homeschool umbrella, you have unschoolers and you have traditional homeschoolers. And that ranges in unschoolers, someone who doesn't believe that there should be any structure, more or less, and your child is going to gravitate to whatever they want to learn.
Wow.
The opposite end of the spectrum, or the traditional homeschoolers, are from 10 to 11, we do math, from 12 to, you know, every day, and it's very structured. And then you have everything, you know, in the middle. So I'm definitely an advocate for homeschooling, but I'm also more so an advocate for alternatives.
Yes.
You know, there are so many different alternatives. There's school co-ops. There's the Sudbury style of teaching your child. There's so much out there, and because everything is at your fingertips online, parents have so many more resources than they've ever had before.
Yes.
And the message I really want to get out is, parents, you have options. Do not feel that the traditional school system is your only choice.
Right.
There are people who are doing it, are teaching their children. For example, I was very comfortable teaching my son about the history and more or less the social sciences.
Very good.
However, math and science wasn't my strong suit.
Right, okay.
So I linked up with another parent who that was their strong suit. And when, you know, we had a group of about 5 or 6 that we used to meet every 2 or 3 days a week. Sometimes we met at Greenberg Library, sometimes we met at White Plains Library,
Right.
Which is, in my opinion, the best. White Plains Library is awesome.
Right.
Their kids' area. And there are so many resources out there where if you feel as a parent you're weak in a certain area, there's another parent who's experiencing what you've experienced that may be strong, and you guys can connect.
Okay, this is great.
So, you know, it's challenging because, you know, parents don't know that it's out there.
Right.
And one of the things I really want to stand on my little soapbox and shout is, we have alternatives.
Right.
Do not feel that the only game in town is that traditional school system.
Right, right. So just listening to everything that you just mentioned, it seems like, you know, there was a snowball effect that was actually created. Like you were homeschooling your child, or you were, you know, basically starting the whole process, and then you actually you met other parents.
Absolutely.
Oh man, this sounds exciting.
Yes, yes.
So now, do you guys, like you said, do you guys meet in groups, different places, like maybe the playground, the library? Like, is it kind of like?
Absolutely. We met, you know, at Tibbetts Brook Park, kind of in Yonkers.
Wow.
We met at the New Rochelle Library, and the rationale
Nice.
and the system that I had set up with my son was, if we play, we work.
Wow.
So
okay.
in the mornings, if we were riding our bike, or we had a play group of 5 or 6 kids, and we played. When we came home, we worked.
Right.
And my question to him, and it still is, you know,